Hello everyone and welcome again to another episode of MotorWay. So today is actually a unique conversation topic discussion is where are the North American or domestic two-seater coupes? Where are they? I mean, apart from, yes, Dodge does make their Ram or the Chevy S10, something small and it's just a bench seat or just whatever, 2-3 seats. And if you wanted to buy a North American two-seater, you would buy either a Fiero or a Camaro. Sorry, not a Camaro, a Corvette. But now there's also the El Camino that's coming out soon. And of course, the El Camino was back in the 70s, or in the late 70s too. And there's really not much else, apart from the Chrysler Crossfire. But that's a whole different story because it wasn't any good. It didn't look good at all. And besides, the people you see driving a Chrysler Crossfire is a bunch of older people. And I mean that with respect. I mean, it's the older generation seems to be driving it, and they're always just babying it, and they're always in the way from what I've seen anytime I see a Crossfire. It's not a sporty two-door. I'm sorry, it's just a two-seater coupe. That's all it is. It's not sporty. There was nothing really sporty about it. But nowadays, if you wanted to buy a two-seater coupe, you would buy Japanese. You would buy the Mazda MX-5 because the Mazda MX-5 is, of course, one of the best and most popular two-seater coupes. I mean, yes, it only had a 4-cylinder motor and not a lot of horsepower, but of course, there are people who do a ton of modifications to it. And of course there's the Mazda RX-7, which is just a little out of budget. And the Audi, they have the TT, which is, I'm sorry, it's just a semicircle. All it is just a sphere that someone just cut in half, folded on the sides, and that's it. There's nothing about it. BMW have the Z4. Nothing really good about it either. It's not sporty. I mean, it does have sport qualifications, yes, but there was nothing really to it at all. It's just, where are the North American or domestic two-seater coupes? Where are they, and are they coming anytime soon? The answer is, well, they're really nowhere, and probably nowhere to be found is because they just make of what they're good at and they continue with it. And Chrysler, Ford, and GM have a tendency to reviving old cars. Now, when it comes to reviving an old car, it could go either way. The Grand Prix, I mean, of course, it's been going on throughout the years, but they kind of revived it here in 2004. But the Dodge Charger in the 70s and everything, it was extremely popular back in the 60s and late 60s and the 70s. But then it just disappeared. And now they made it in 2004, I believe, is when they first started production of a 3.5-liter V6. But it was a 4-door. Why? And it wasn't even a 2-door. They made and I'm getting a little sidetracked here from two-seaters. But I'm sorry, if you want to buy a two-seater, two-door sports car within budget, you tend to go for the Mazda MX-5. I'm sorry, but that's what you do. But if you want sportiness, you go for the RX-7. But of course, that was, just a little out of the price range and everything. It'd be nice if you signaled, but okay. But that's a different thing. But, so it's GM, Chrysler, and Ford, please, oh please, make a two-seater coupe. Please bring them back. You had the Fiero. I've talked about the Fiero before. They were pretty good looking, in the 87, the last year that they made them, the Fiero GT and everything. But the SE model, the 84, it just looked a little strange. And yes, there is a DeLorean. They're bringing back the DeLorean, but it's going to be extremely overpriced. That's going to be overpriced. And Australians, yes, Australians make them. They make some pretty good, you know, they have the Vauxhall Maloo, which is like the El Camino, but extremely powerful. And of course, this is what they're actually doing with the newer El Camino, is they're going to put 500 to 700 horsepower from an LS motor in an El Camino. So it's going to be a pretty quick car. And also, like classic European car, you have like the Fiat 124 or even the Fiat Spider. It's just, there is a bunch of classic European cars that were two-seaters, and they were brilliant. They were absolutely brilliant. Like the TR7, the Spitfire. Just, there's plenty of other classic European cars, and you know, Asian cars as well, like the Honda, the NSX. That was the NSX. Just looking at the NSX, it's beautiful. It is just crafted so, it's perfect. It's a symphony of perfectness. That's all it really is. But nowadays, when you see them, you're like, they've got some money, you know? And yes, there is the Corvette as well, like, but I see people who buy Corvettes have more money than brains. I'm sorry, that's just what it is. Yes, okay, yeah, you've got an LS motor, you've got 600 horsepower from a Z06 Corvette or whatever you want, you know, the ZR1. But it just wasn't classy. But I mean classy in a different way. I mean, like when you're looking at the classic Fiats or Triumph or MG, Jaguar, BMW, the Audi. It's just, there was something about them. Yes, I just mentioned Audi as they were basically a sphere cut in half and folded on the sides, but it still had sport-like qualifications, especially the new ones, and they're still making them. And the older ones, the 2000s and everything, are within budget. They're not overpriced. They're within budget. But like I said, nowadays, if you wanted to buy a North American two-seater, you either buy Corvette or you buy a Fiero. That's just what you do. And I'm sorry, but Corvette, overpriced, completely out of budget. But on the other hand, there's the Fiero. Fiero, you can have plenty of modifications. They're available everywhere. They're rear-wheel drive too. But they also had the, you know, there was a 4-speed automatic gearbox, and yeah, some of them did have the 5 or 6-speed manual, or just a 5-speed. But you can aftermarket into a 6-speed and everything. But so it's just a message for North American car companies, Chrysler, Ford, and GM. Please come within a certain budget and make a good two-seater coupe. That's all I gotta say. But that's it for MotorWay. Thank you very much for watching. Leave a like, comment, subscribe, whatever you like, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.